Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is the No Guts, No Story Live. My name is Barb Pitcock. Most of you know that. You're on my page or you're on YouTube, also broadcasting on my author page and LinkedIn. One thing I love about this platform is that you can go live in many places at one time. So today is kind of an exciting day. It's not my wedding anniversary, but it's a day that I always celebrate. And I want to share that with you guys today. I want to share something that I've never probably ever shared on the No Guts, No Story Live. And at this point, what does it matter, right? Might as well tell the truth of everything that might help somebody that's listening. So good morning, everybody. If you're watching live, type in the comments live and tell me where you're coming in from. If you're watching the replay, put replay. Good morning, Susan. So many of my favorite people. Good morning, Debbie. I love Saturday mornings because I feel like I wake up, meditate, pray, work on myself, and prepare something that I feel like I could impact you with. So get ready because you're going to feel it today. So, oh my goodness, there is Judy. And Judy is the daughter of my Aunt Leona, Leona and Woodrow were my kind of, I would explain, as my dad was growing up, they were a big constant in his life. And then when Dave and I first got married and had babies, they came to visit me every week to see this little Brooklyn. We lived in the same area that they did. And later they both passed away, but Judy now lives here in Russell, and not a lot of family left on my dad's side that is right around here. So it's awesome to see her tuning into this. Good morning, Tina. I am going to go ahead and get started. I know that it is a busy day for many of you, and it's going to be a great day. Good things are going to happen for all of you today. So my name is Barb Pitcock, and today I'm going to share with you my story that I've probably not shared with most unless you've read the book. And this morning I was looking around for even a copy of my book to hold up. I always keep the one that I wrote in and gave to my dad because he didn't want to take it. And I always keep it in my office just kind of as a souvenir and a reminder that, sometimes your past isn't something that everybody wants to relive, and you don't have to keep carrying that baggage around. The more you carry it around, the heavier it is, the harder it is to move forward. And that was me. And so we're going to go all the way back to 1992. I was a owner of a full service salon. It was called Guys and Dolls Salon. And in my basement, I had a large, big open room. I was a dance instructor teaching ballet, tap, jazz, and hip hop wasn't a thing yet. That definitely would have been canceled when I was growing up. But I was a young girl. I was 21, and I was helping my mom with younger siblings. My dad left when I was 18. And so, 3 years, my dad had been gone, missing. We didn't really know where he was. And I struggled with a lot of abandonment issues. Today, I color my hair because I have a lot of gray. But if you would have known me growing up, it wasn't this beautiful auburn brown. It was more orange, orange, redhead, fair skin, as you can see. And I had an incredibly low self-esteem. Now, when I was a little girl growing up, I had amazing mentors in my life. My grandma and grandpa kept me a lot because my mom and dad, they were married until I was 18. My dad actually moved out and left on my graduation night and served divorce papers on my prom night. So it was always a big celebration gone bad, right? And I think sometimes in life, we have a tendency to not want to get our hopes up because we've been knocked down so many times. We have had so many times in our life where we thought things were going to go good, and then there was either a self-sabotage or it was just the enemy conditioning you to be great and survive, right? But in my early years, I wasn't where I'm at today with personal development. So let's just say I was a broken, low self-esteem, no self-confidence, struggling with my faith, hurting, insecure girl. And so when you look at a girl that is very insecure, there are times where they would do anything to feel loved. they would put up with not good behavior towards them. They would put up with mental abuse, maybe physical abuse, maybe sexual abuse, maybe someone cheating on them constantly, because even if it's bad, it's all they've got, right? And so I had a lot of great mentors in my young years growing up. My grandmother was, I have a little statue that I always keep right here. And believe it or not, my dad gave it to me. And he said, when I saw it, I thought of your Grandma Mills because of the way that she was always witnessing and ministering to you. And, you know, growing up, my parents, they worked a lot. They had a Natoma Foods grocery store, interest in the local Sonic. They had some kind of partnership there. They had 2 semis. My mom drove one, my dad drove one, and they had a food and frozen food and dairy distribution company. It was called Dairy World. My dad was the milkman when I was a little girl. Literally, I'm the milkman's daughter. And as I grew up, probably about 2nd or 3rd grade, he quit working for Beatrice Foods. Every time I go to Tulsa to visit Cali, I see this huge sign that says Meadow Gold on Route 66. And when I was a little girl, my dad worked for Meadow Gold, and he drove a truck, and my mom stayed home with us. I can remember my Aunt Joan coming over, and my mom just being this mom that stayed home, and they would fold clothes all day together. We would go to the garage sales together, and my cousin Stacy and my cousin Bradley and I, we would always hang out. You know, mom stayed home, and my dad worked, and he would come home off the truck, and everybody was a happy family, right? My grandma and grandpa were entrepreneurs. She was actually the cook at the local hospital here, Russell Hospital, the only hospital. And my grandpa was a pumper, an oil field pumper. And he worked a traditional job for many years. I remember his 30-year anniversary. They got a bunch of diamonds and a watch. And it's not like he didn't work the traditional job and have good benefits. And she worked too. But they worked 9 to 5 to make a living, and then they worked 5 to 9 or 10 to make their fortune. And I'm telling you, when my grandfather passed away, it was not a very pretty story, because he had remarried and there was a big struggle for money, and it's a whole nother book I could write. But I will tell you, you would have never known he had a dime. He drove an older truck. He wore, the city service looking oil filled clothes, or just jeans and a plaid cotton shirt. He always had a little hat. He chewed the red man tobacco, always had a little spit on his cheek. But this man took nothing and turned it into something. And he taught that to my mom and dad. So my mom and dad were like serial entrepreneurs. I mean, we tore down the Dorrance Co-op to sell the lumber. We tore down the outhouses out south of town as a family, chisels, hammers, getting the old cement off the brick to sell the brick and use the brick to build these big arches on the front of our normal sided house so it would look improved, right? I mean, my dad was so hardworking and taught me so much about dreams and goals and working towards something. And he was amazing. My mom too. They worked side by side always while I was growing up. And then as things changed and I got older, my grandma fought a horrible battle with cancer from the time that I was 9 until maybe more like 8 until I was 12. And she passed away when I was 12. And I think that's when I really started to hurt and want to feel loved and try to feel this void and just feel very insecure, like I would never be anything. And it was like, I just believed that I would never be anything. Nobody would ever love me. Nobody would ever marry me. Who would want to be my husband? Would I ever even have children? It was just a really bad stop program that was going on in my head. And so I was enrolled in a dance class. Well, before my grandma passed away, she had me an auto harp on Wednesday. Who the hell needs to learn how to play an auto harp, right? Guitar lessons with Mrs. Schaefer on Tuesday, piano lessons on Monday, baton twirling lessons with Paula and Johnette Betts on Thursday. I mean, we had Bible school on Wednesday nights and missionary. We had church on Sunday morning. We went back to church on Sunday night. She really believed that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And she kept me busy from the time I went to school till I got home from school till I went to bed. always doing something, right? And her faith was incredibly amazing. So as a child, I really resented that. Like, it wasn't cool when your friends want to come over and play kick the can in the park that's across the street, and your grandma invites them in to read the Bible study for the day. Like, I was like, I'm never going to get a boyfriend if they come to the door, they're going to have to come in and pray with you. And it's funny because I really was like embarrassed. I did not love that, I had this background. But later, it really served me. And so fast forward, my grandma passes away. I'm 12 years old. And, I'm not ashamed to say that I was a bad girl. I was just a bad girl. I stole things. I lied. I had sex at the age of 12 with my dance teacher's son. I snuck out. I wanted so badly to be loved and to feel important that I would do anything. And I want to tell you guys a huge life lesson. People just want to feel good and accepted. They just want to feel good. They want to feel loved. They want to feel accepted. Everything that I would ever start, I would quit because I didn't have enough self-confidence. Bob Pope was my neighbor, and he would pick me up for softball practice. And my mom always babysat Mark and Kelly Pope when we were growing up. They were neighbor kids. And he knew my parents were busy, and I was never going to be involved in anything other than babysitting. Once my grandma passed away, I was like the mom. I mean, my mom left in the morning on a truck. My dad left in the morning on a truck. Sometimes after school, I would walk home with the kids, and they would call and say, like, we're at the Russell's Inn and we're headed to the Bear House. We have to service 2 schools. Then they would call at 9 o'clock. We just got to the Bear House truck stop. We're going to service them and eat some dinner. Are the kids in bed? And this was like, my mom was a grinder. Like, I love my mom. She is my number one hero in my entire life because she never gave up. And this woman knows how to work. I mean, she can make magic happen. And somehow, by the grace of God, she raised 5 amazing kids on her own. Granted, Lori and I always take a little bit of credit for it because when my dad left, I was 18. Lori was 14. Mark was born 10 years later. So, he was like he was 8. Tracy was 3 and Jeremy was 2, somewhere around there. Like, it was a bunch of little kids. And I don't even know how in the world my mom survived the broken heart, but somehow she just put one foot in front of the other and she just kept on going. Well, watching her struggle, watching her have such a broken heart, watching her try to pay the bills. She lost the house we grew up in. They repossessed cars, like everything was gone. And my grandpa was alive. And this was about 1989, when I was graduating. My dad disappeared and I wanted to go be a dancer. My grandma had left us all a college fund when she passed away, and I wanted to be a dancer, and that wasn't really college material according to my grandfather's new wife. And I was pondering what to do. And then when my dad left, I mean, what was I going to do? Leave my mom with these 4 little kids and move to Colorado? I was going to the Pueblo Ballet because that's where my longtime boyfriend and dance instructor had moved. So when she moved, I had all the dance kids. I had my own dance school. I mean, at 18 years old, I was teaching dance to 50 kids. And so I had a great income and I knew how to work. I mean, I could outwork anyone. I went to work at the Boot Hill Cafe at 6 a.m. and I got off at 2. And when I left there, I went to the Russell's Inn and I worked 2 to 10. And on the weekends, I would wait tables on weeknights. Sometimes I worked at Stop 2 Shop. Stop 2 Shop, I worked as a little sales clerk and I would teach dance, twirling lessons. I joined a network marketing company, if you can imagine this. I joined Amway not once but twice, House of Lloyd, Home Interiors, Christmas Around the World, Avon Lady. Like, I would just do anything to turn a dime because I was goal driven. I would work. This is the one thing that I had been taught my entire life. You can outwork anyone. And so, as you can imagine, I had to rearrange things a little bit, and I enrolled in beauty school at Great Bend. And I finished beauty school and got out. What's the next thing to do? who knows what's the next thing to do? I mean, you get your little beauty school license, you're 19 years old, you want to do what everyone else is doing. Thank God there wasn't social media back then, or I probably would have been more famous than the Kardashians. But, you know, nobody knew the shit show that was happening. Everything just looked cool. So I was in a relationship with this kid that I had been in with, you know, since I was 12, the only boy I'd really ever dated. And, you know, once you've lived together, done this, done that, like, what's the next thing to do? And I know that he probably didn't really love me. It was just kind of a habit. We were just kind of there, but it's like all that I had ever known. And so I was struggling for intimacy. I dreamed up this huge dream wedding. I was going to become a Catholic. We were going to get married on Christmas Eve because that's my favorite day of the year. And, you know, got to have 7 bridesmaids and 7 groomsmen. And I grew up in this town where I knew everyone, all his friends, all my friends, 350, 400 people coming, gonna get married on Christmas Eve, right? Now, you guys, I don't care how you slice it. When you're a young girl, you don't know what you're doing. You just want to feel good. And sometimes you make really stupid decisions and you'll just do what everyone else is doing to feel good. And so I'm looking around, you know, my friends are getting married. My friends are all in sororities at K-State and KU. They're getting degrees. Their parents are still together. They're coming home on the weekend. They have great cars. They have great, you know, mommy and daddy's credit card, whatever. I'm over here flipping burgers, waiting tables, throwing batons, teaching tap dance, cutting hair, selling Amway. Like, I would do anything I could just to try to be successful. And I looked great on the outside. I mean, I had people lined up at that salon from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. And the one way that I felt very validated and important was work. I mean, I would make $400 a day when I was 20, and this is 28 years ago. So I had a great boat. I had a beautiful Suburban. I had a little LeBaron convertible. I was buying a house on contract. I had my dance school built in the basement. I had a trailer that I had converted into this Guys and Dolls salon, and I was literally killing it, but not really, because I would kill it all day. And at this point, the guy I'm dating is like, why the hell should I work when you're making $400 or $500 a day and we're, you know, college age kids, but neither one of us are going to college. And it was just a really toxic relationship. As you can imagine, keg parties on the weekend. What else would he do? He's 3 years older than me. We got all this money, this great house, whatever. And there was no real relationship. It was just a habit. And I was about to be married. And honestly, you can't really call the guy a bad guy, because when you're 21, you're not faithful. Like, you don't really know what you're doing yet. Guys are guys, girls are girls, but it was a very unfaithful relationship. He had been with most all of my friends, even my best friend, at some point or another. And, you know, just partying, doing whatever. And I think I was a lot more mature than my age. And I just wanted to be a mom, have a family, have a bunch of kids. And I would go to these events in network marketing and just dream. I remember there was this couple, George and Melody Pointner, and they were on stage and they had their own private helicopter and they had 3 kids and they lived in Garden City. And I would literally drive there to their trainings, just drive by their house, take pictures, just dream of this fairy tale life, you know, just dreaming. And people would be like, you're so freaking brainwashed. Like, you're so stupid. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. And here I am with this boyfriend that could give 2 craps less. And I'm trying to like make something that's not. And I want to tell you guys something. If you're a guy and you're dating a boss, you gotta understand that enough is never going to be enough. Like, you are going to have to step up your game, or it's going to be not going to work, right? And I think probably I was a lot to blame, because I wanted this amazing lifestyle and I was with someone who really didn't dream. I wanted this incredible future. And I was with someone who, you know, had their own issues on their own journey. And I was praying for a miracle to come along. Well, my dad didn't live here and he hadn't been here for many years, but his grandmother passed away, his step-grandmother. That's a whole nother story. His mom was married, had 3 amazing kids. My dad his sister, and his brother. His brother committed suicide. I mean, you're going to see a lot of correlation here. His brother committed suicide after Vietnam, a lot of addiction in that family. My grandmother, on my dad's side, this is not the one that raised me, but the one that I was at the house a lot because her kids were my age. She remarried, and she got pregnant with my uncle David, who's 3 years older than me. Him and Dave were kind of classmates. And we were besties, you know, growing up. He was my uncle, but really felt like my cousin. And then his dad's previous wife passed away in Oregon and shipped all the kids here. And my grandmother became the new stepmom because their mom died. And so here comes 4 kids, Lester, Martha, and Debbie. And then, you know, she had David. And what happened was my grandmother was in a relationship with an alcoholic, and then her second husband died. Mind you, my dad's in his growing up years. This could have a lot to do with every bit of the journey, right? And then her second husband dies. And now she's the mom to all these kids that aren't her mom or her kids. And she has a little baby that's not much older than me. And then my dad has me. So imagine this, right? So I always think like my one grandma was like this great Baptist that didn't even want my grandpa to have a highball bourbon drink. And then 3 doors down around the corner was my other grandma who was going to singles club. Her children were all struggling with addiction, smoking weed, drinking beer, whatever. She was a Catholic. This one was a Baptist. And it was like the battle of the grandmas, right? I would go to bad grandma's house and good grandma would pray for me that I wouldn't get in trouble because she knew you become like the people you hang around. Now, my grandma Schneider was not a bad grandma, but I'm just saying like there was like the perfect environment and then there was the real world. Like this over here was the real world. And I learned so much from both grandmas because little did I ever think that I would ever grow up and have any, you know, any need for experience with addiction, depression, suicide, or any of this. But along comes this phone call on August 15th of 1992. You should probably pull up a chair, Dave, and come in here.
You think, huh?
I'm at my salon. I'm engaged to be married. I mean, drop in the comments if any of you have ever been engaged to be married and then it didn't go on to happen. Like, this is the craziest story you're ever going to hear. I had to literally write a book about it because you can't do it in a 1 hour live. I'm struggling to be loved. I had bought myself my own wedding ring with my own money. My boyfriend was at the lake. Obviously, he took our Suburban and our boat. Tons of chicks all over it. I'm sure bought the beer, had the cooler, whatever. And my constant feeling was, I'm going to be cheated on. I'm not enough. I'm not important. I got to get there. I mean, I was always trying to buy it, fix it, change it. What could I do? What could I do to make this person just love me? That's really all I wanted. I just wanted to be loved. And I'm not trying to make this guy look out to be a bad guy. Keep in mind, we were 21, but I was like the maturity of 31, right? And so I get this phone call and this blast from the past, my first movie date, my first red rose, my little 7th grade phone call, you know, call me on the phone when everybody's like, she's got a boyfriend. That was Dave Pitcock. But obviously, we had both went our separate ways since 7th grade. He was engaged to be married to his high school girlfriend. I was engaged to be married to mine. And Dave was went to school on a full ride scholarship. Him and I have the same stories. His dad left his senior year. My dad left my senior year. I don't know what the hell we did to deserve that, but it was just the same. We had a lot of things in common. Both our moms were single moms, struggling to even buy milk and groceries. And here we were, 2 kids giving them a run for their money, right? So I loved helping my mom. I actually would help her take care of the kids. And Dave had went to school in Colby on a full ride baseball scholarship. We always laugh. He probably could have been a professional baseball player. But it's all about the people you meet and the decisions you make and who your circle of influence is and what they do to you. But stop trying to change your kids, because if you read this great book I have that's helped me so much, it's called The Soul Plan. God had their lives planned out the day they were born. He knows every hair in their head, what they're going to do, how it's going to end. And honestly, you might have some influence, but you have no control over their true destiny. And no matter what our moms would have done, there's nothing they could have done to fix what we were about to unravel, right? So Dave calls me. It's Saturday. It's August the 15th. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. I've been cutting hair since 6 a.m. My little sister, cute little blonde, shows up in her Jeep. She goes, come on, we're going to the lake. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm nervous to even go to the lake. I mean, a week before that, I had literally found my Jeep with like 6 girls in the back of it, stuck in a creek, and my soon-to-be husband driving it, right? So like every weekend was a saga, and I would get like anxiety, like what are we going to find when we show up at the lake? My sister's like, come on, we're leaving, get in, come on, we're going, you've worked all week. So I'm about to leave, and you guys, a single moment can absolutely change your life. You've got to stop, you've got to pray, and you've got to listen. Stop and pray and listen. So I'm leaving the salon. I'm covered in hair. I smell like a freaking perm. I probably had bleach on my clothes. And I jump in the Jeep, and we're about to leave, and I run back in to get the dirty towels. And the phone rings. My sister and my cousin Stacy, who we were like besties, they're ready to go to the lake, and I get this phone call, and it goes, hey, Barb. I go, Guys and Dolls Salon. Hey, Barb. I go, hey, what? It's Dave Pitcock. Now, you guys, I got to tell you what happened the night before. The night before, my sister and I went to the Odin Rodeo, and we took all of my little brothers and sisters, and then we went dream building, and we drove around all the nice houses in Great Bend because we were both in Amway, right? And so that day, we're like, do you want to go to the Odin Rodeo? And we get back, and we're on Main Street, and there's these 2 young kids, Scott Pitcock and Shane Poche, and they're in this car, and they're jamming to Metallica, and like the whole car is like headbanging. You guys remember the headbanging days? And my sister and I are driving around, and I know that I'm being cheated on, and we're listening to Lori Morgan, May the Best Woman Win. We're jamming, right? And we're listening to Alabama. Drop in the comments if you've listened to Alabama. We knew every word to every song. Garth Brooks. And, you know, like, we're these girls that are like, may the best woman win. And we're trying to be rebellious, and we don't drink. Like, I don't drink. And so we're on Main Street, and my dad's grandmother had passed away, which was my great-grandmother, and I have to do her hair the next morning at the mortuary. So we're like driving around contemplating this, like we're trying to be kids, but we're really not kids. We're like grown-up kids. And we pull into the church parking lot. This happens on Friday night before the haircut phone call. And my sister dated Dave's brother a lot. Like they were like first loves, just like me and Dave were first loves. It's just so crazy of a story. I know you guys are like, where is she going with this? And I told you I was going to tell you a story, some things I've never told before. They're banging their head. I don't know if they were drunk or smoking weed or what they were doing, but they're like messed up on Main Street. And we pull up, and he rolls down the window, and he's banging his head to Metallica. And my little sister is flirting, and she goes, what in the hell are you listening to? And she cranks up the country music, and he screams out, what in the hell are you listening to? And I looked at Lori. Now understand, my sister Lori dated Scott. He's a rock and roll heavy metal rebel. And Dave and I are just classmates and friends. But he's a rodeo cowboy, right? So that night, Friday night, I said to him as we were pulling out of the parking lot, Dave's little brother, just under my breath, we would probably get along a lot better with your brother. And we speed off in the Jeep. That's the only thing that happened. That is the only thing that happened. Well, as luck would have it, God was orchestrating all of these things. I was praying for the right man to come along. I was miserable. I was broken. I was sad, getting ready to go do my great grandma Schneider's hair at the mortuary. And my sister and I are just out for a drive. And Scott Pitcock goes home and tells his brother, who has been in a rodeo accident, has a broken leg, has been laying on his mom's couch on hydrocodone for 2 months since the 4th of July cowboy Christmas, weekend. He's been laying there for 6 weeks and he needed a haircut. So what happened was he goes home and he tells his brother, drunk, mind you, I saw Barb Pitcock tonight, but it was Barb Zorn. I saw Barb and Lori Zorn tonight. She said she wants to marry you. And that was the end of the thing. Okay, none of that ever happened, but I got to be so grateful because this phone call on Saturday when I'm headed to the lake says, hey, you got time for a haircut? And I say, no. He says, well, I got a proposition for you. I go, okay. He goes, I got 2 tickets to Garth Brooks. Drop in the comments if you love Garth Brooks or you did. And he said, I just wanted to see if you might be interested. And I said, well, I'm headed to the lake. Let me ask Todd, how much do you want for them? And he said, no, you misunderstood me. I mean, it's a proposition. Now, smart college kids saying words like proposition. I'm like, what? And I said, I'll let you know. He goes, when could you cut my hair? I broke my leg. I've been on my mom's couch. I really need a haircut. Now, he was Keith Urban Hot before Keith Urban Hot was even in. His bangs were to here. It looked like a mop, and his leg was this big around. He had been busted up on his mom's couch, and I said, how about Tuesday? So this is a running joke. Haircut was scheduled for Tuesday morning, 9:30, and I didn't know how bad he needed a haircut or I would have skipped the lake. Trust me. But Lori and I went to the lake. Everything was great. That night, we went back to the rodeo with our brothers and sisters, got sidetracked, got lost on the way home, got home to a huge party at my house. The night went really bad. I got kicked, and I took off running to my mom's campground. And Dave passed me in his little Fiero, little 2-seater Fiero with his broken leg propped up, his crutches, as you can imagine, and he's driving like this, and I'm in my pajamas running to my mom's house. Well, I get my car, and I go down on Main Street, and I'm sitting there. There's a fist fight going on. I mean, this sounds like an old movie like Fonz or Grease, doesn't it? But back in the day, you could fist fight on Main Street without going to prison. And these 2 high school kids were having a fist fight. Everybody was watching. They were my age, might I say, like not much younger than me. And I just went and parked in the Food Mart parking lot. And I was just like, dear God, how is my life such a freaking mess? And there was a bottle of rum in my trunk from when the girls and I went to the lake, which didn't go very well. And I thought, I'm just going to drink that whole bottle of rum. I'm just going to get completely freaking wasted like everyone else does. It seems to be working for the rest of the world. And I'm just like sitting there in the Food Mart parking lot praying for something to come along. And I look up and there is someone at my window. And he's like this, roll down the window. And I'm like, who the hell is at my window? I didn't even recognize this person. Cut off t-shirt, those old nylon shorty shorts that the guys wore, athletic shorts, crutches, leg this big around. I'm like, oh my God, you cannot get in my car. Like, I have a crazy boyfriend that would literally kill you if you were caught in my car, and we can't be on Main Street. And he goes, well, my friend Weddick just left. You need to give me a ride at least. And I'm like, I can't give you a ride. And so needless to say, I close the trunk. I don't get drunk. I peel out of the Food Mart parking lot with this blast from the past in my front seat. And I never went back home. We sat on his mom's porch. She was on a girl trip with her sisters. They had went to South Dakota and on this big long road trip. Nobody was home. His brother was inside. And me and Dave sat on the front porch and we read the pro rodeo sports news. And he showed me every rodeo he was going to. I fall asleep easily. I'm not a nighttime person. I'm sure I slept through half the conversation. And we became best friends. And I had no idea that I would break off a marriage, that I would run away, move to Cody, Wyoming, fall in love with the man of my dreams, have 3 amazing children, start businesses. I had no idea what God's plan was for my life because I was so stuck in the habit. I was so non-believing in myself. I was so broken, and I really needed a lot of things. And this amazing man who I went on my first date with 29 years ago literally changed my life. Now, you guys, I am going to have Dave tell you his side of the story, but I was so insecure that even after we were married, I would turn off all the lights in the bathroom in case he came in when I was in the shower or the bathtub. Like, I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated when I looked in the mirror. I hated the person that I had been things that I had done. I was ashamed. I really did not love myself. And it took a really long time for me to be able to trust and love and look in the mirror and have any confidence. But I swear this guy can help people transform in a way that I've never seen it. He's done it with our kids. He's done it with people in our business. He wrote a book called The Thinking Cure, which there's a whole lot more to the story. He wrote that book after he lost his only brother to suicide and really had a hard time finding the good in anything. But you really have two choices: stay stuck, find a way to feel better, find something to be excited about, set some goals, move forward. That night we sat up and talked, but then the next night we ran away to the Abilene Rodeo, and the next night we ran away to his Uncle Art's, and the next night I found myself in a convertible car with him and his brother crashing their road trip to see where Billy the Kid escaped from. And oh my gosh, his brother is the only reason we're together, and I thank God for that every day. But today is 29-year happy haircut anniversary. I've been waiting. I told him he needs a haircut, but I'm not cutting it until Tuesday.
I do need a haircut again, don't
Yeah.
I? I've been saving it up.
It's a little gray now.
Yep. And unless Barb cuts my hair, I feel like I'm cheating on her. So I always have to let her cut my hair.
So
wait a second though. Real quick.
yes.
I've never wore a pair of shorty shorts in my life. That's never happened.
Okay, well, they were like those athletic shorts. I mean, everyone that's our age remembers.
Yeah, but they went down like mid-thigh or like shorty shorts like show your butt.
Okay.
I just never wore shorty shorts.
Well, they were shorty
Well, I
shorts
still want this
compared to
picture
what.
of some long-haired guy wearing shorty shorts because that's not who I was.
So anyway, we failed a lot. I mean, imagine these two small town kids break off their engagements and we ran away together to Cody, Wyoming because we had to. I think we might have gotten killed if not.
Well, you tell your side of the story so much about you and where you were in your life, and it's so funny. We talk to people all the time, and everybody has that story. Like you guys listen to Barb's story, but on the flip side, there was a dude laying on his mom's couch, hyped up on painkillers. I had 5 surgeries on my knee. My career was practically over. I threw away my baseball career, and I'm laying on the couch in the same situation that Barb is sitting in her car praying for her situation to change. I mean, you say, oh, and this man came along. No, I was the most broken person in the world that came along. I wasn't, no.
We were two sparrows in a hurricane trying to find our way.
I was roadkill sparrow there because I was done. And it's easy to get that way. And everybody has that story. And I honestly just think I think that's the gift of life. I think part of that gift of being alive is those down times, getting smashed in the face, getting thrown under the bus. Because then when you come out of that, you're like, oh yeah, this is what it's supposed to feel like. And if you never had those times, you would never know that. And I also got to say this too. You and Lori had to say something more to my brother that night.
No, he was drunk.
No, my brother never drank. That's not true. So you two, because he came home and it wasn't just, hey man, I ran into Barb Zorn. She said she wants to marry you. No, he gave me like a 20-minute lecture on why.
That was the Holy Spirit convincing you to call me.
Perfect person. I'm sitting there going, Barb Zorn? And you got to understand, I'm laying on a couch searching, wondering, what the heck am I going to do? What job am I going to have? I'm laying here with my mom. I don't know. I had to move home. Every dream and goal that I had was just done. And then when he walks in and says that, here's the deal. You said it earlier, is a tiny little spark. It's like it can take one little sentence and you're just like, holy shit. Yeah. Barb Zorn wants to marry me? You know, it was a lie. She never said that.
I never said that.
But I'm sitting there going, I'm like, Pity, come on. Did she really? Dude, she's all over you, man. She wants to marry you. I swear to God, she wants to have your kids and marry you.
Yeah.
I don't know what you did to her at the skating rink in the 7th grade, but she still has it for you, man. And I'm sitting there, Well, I'm all of a sudden, within 30 seconds, I'm like, I'm a real man again.
You're bowing your
Holy
chest
crap.
out.
And that's why I called you, because I felt like
Confident?
I felt good. Like somebody planted something in
So
me.
do
that
we
felt
all
good.
have
You
to
guys
lie
know
to
the reason,
ourselves?
you know the reason I wrote this? So that you could learn to lie to yourself a little bit sometimes. So that you could learn to feel good all the time, even if you got to tell yourself a little bit of lie. Because feeling good is better than anything else. Because when you feel good for 30 seconds, shit starts to happen in your life.
Mhm.
When you feel good for this long, how many people have been like down that road, laying on the couch, sitting in your car? And unfortunately, my brother went down that road and he never came back. He took his own life. And I know that happens too. I know there's a line there. And I know it's difficult. I know it's hard to like find that little thing that goes, I remember when we first started speaking, I was always terrified. I'm not like you. Okay. Barb could meet a stranger on an airplane, and when she gets home, I hear a 2-hour conversation of how they're now best friends.
But you gotta
I
think
don't
about
care
it.
who it
While
is.
you were on the baseball field
I
being a
don't
kid, I
care.
was running the cash register at the grocery
Yeah,
store.
whatever, Chatterbox Duck. You go ahead and tell them that. But you're so magical when it comes to meeting people and having that just total open thing. I am a little more introverted, a little more shy, a little more. And I always remember before I would go on stage and speak, I was the most scared person in the world. Terrified, want to throw up. I don't want to do this. Why am I here? And one of the things my mentor taught me, he said, why don't you think of something you're going to do tomorrow or next week that's really fun? And the instant I would do that, my fear went away. My nervousness went away. I'd walk on stage and everything would be amazing. But it would always, every lesson I could tell anybody, it always went back to, I just found a way to feel really good right now. Just feel a little bit better right now. My brother walking in the front door going, hey, this girl, you need to call her, man. She won't leave me alone. She wants to marry
It was
you.
such a lie.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so with that planted in my head, guess what I did?
You
I
believed
call
it.
her up. Like,
And
hey,
that's
girl,
the
I need
thing.
a haircut. And like, let's go to a concert. Like, I literally, I'm
You
not
didn't
that
even have the
person.
damn tickets. You lied.
We don't have to go there.
He
I
didn't
got
even
'em.
have the tickets.
I got
Well,
it.
we got them after standing in line for 2 hours and getting them from a scalper.
I didn't think you'd say yes. What?
I mean, poor Dave, he has the worst cough, but he agreed to be there with me.
Excuse me.
So here's the thing. There's so many people that are in a horrible relationship. And there's so many people that are horribly depressed. And there's so many people like me that are comparing themselves to their friends that are getting married, having babies, got a great job. They're the valedictorian. They're in the sorority. They're on the dance, cheer, basketball, whatever team. Like, I never believed in myself. And I always compared myself to everyone else. I can remember trying to dye my ugly red hair to be brown. I can remember putting on the QT and turning orange because I didn't want to be white. I can remember wearing skin tight jeans because it was just anything I could do.
Your freckles are one of the things that kind of turn me on.
Well,
I just gotta say, so
I hated
every
them.
time you go
I would get
tan-
the full
no,
coverage
every
makeup.
time you go tan, I'm like, oh man, my little like pasty white freckle girl's gone. Like, where'd she go? It's like tan ain't all that. I'm just telling you.
Okay, but when we look in the mirror, it's what we see, and there's so many girls. I've spoke at a lot of schools, and I just flat out tell them I was 12 years old having sex because I needed to feel loved.
Mm.
I was stealing clothes from the buckle because I didn't have any cute clothes and all the rich girls did. Like, I was not a good girl. But you know what, you guys? People will do things that you think they would never do just to feel accepted and loved. So if I could give you any advice today to change the world, message someone right now and just include them.
Mm.
Reach out to someone right now and just compliment them on their Facebook picture. Reach out to someone and tell them how talented they are, how you're so impressed with them. And, the people who did that for me, I remember them. Linda Freilich was my boyfriend's boss's wife, and she would come in my salon and tell me how awesome I was. My Joyce Poche was my boss at the Boot Hill Cafe. Merity Barnes was my boss at Russell's Inn. Joy Mortimer and Randy Martin were my boss at Stop to Shop. These people would praise me, and I would literally I would work double shifts. I would go with no sleep. I would do anything to just feel important. And I think the moral of the story in life is people stay stuck in shitty relationships, and people work hard and work themselves to death, and people stay stuck in horrible companies, and people do shit that they never would have done in their right mind because they're so beaten down and they just want to feel important and loved. And they stay stuck for a really long time. And I'm telling you guys, if you're stuck, drop in the comments and say, I'm going to get unstuck. Like, I know Dave and I are starting a podcast, and we're so flippin' excited about it because it's going to be real talk. I'm probably going to cuss. I mean, I'm a Christian, but the reality is some of this shit sucks.
She cusses a lot.
I do.
Just saying.
I do. And it's not because I want to, but it's because I'm so passionate. And, you know, the reality is I want people to know that this is not a dress rehearsal. Had I gotten married, little did I know, the guy I was engaged to that I loved and wanted him to love me was never able to have children. And I know that God was redirecting my path, and I was praying, and God was telling me, like, he was trying to allow it to be so bad so I would make a move, but I was just so dang hard-headed I would never listen.
Habits.
And it's habits.
You stay in those habits. And just listening to you this whole time, and people that are in maybe relationships, and it's not that all relationships that are struggling are bad. You just need to like come together somehow. Because Barb and I have had in 20 some years, it's not all rosy. I mean, she should have probably kicked me out many times. I'm like the least perfect person in the world.
That is absolutely not true. You were going through a depression.
There's a chapter in the book called Your Guided Missile. And I just want you guys to think about this. Like, when you think of a guided missile, and you know, you watch an old Tom and Jerry cartoon, and one of the episodes was this guided missile would float around the whole cartoon, and every time it'd go by Tom the cat, he'd switch the guided missile to it's a mouse, and the rest of the cartoon, the guided missile's following Jerry around, and when he gets to Jerry, he switches it to the cat, and then it switches gears. We all have a guided missile inside of us. I'm sitting in a library at Barb's, and practically every book in here talks about how you set goals. You human beings are the only animal on the planet that gets to decide their goals. An alligator is an alligator, and they're mean, and they eat stuff. Squirrels gather nuts during the summer. They don't even know why they're doing it. They have to. We get to choose those things. And people forget that. As you get into these habits and you think, this is my life. It's like, no, you chose that somewhere. You chose that. You did that. And even if you chose that,
and
wherever
that's hard.
you are
That's
now,
hard to take.
It's tough, but you did choose that. And the minute you accept that, and then you start to think about that guided missile, think about your goals. Like what name, what sentence is on your guided missile right now that's chasing you around? Because you dialed that in somewhere, and you can change that dial.
Well,
and I think that's the greatest thing my mentor ever did for me, is taught me how to do that.
Let's say what one of our worst chapters, you know, being in a lawsuit, being in a bankruptcy. I mean, this is not all roses.
Man, those
like
are easy.
Losing your brother to suicide.
You know,
having a child that went through addiction. We had a child that went through depression.
But
I worried about suicide with them every day.
Think about this, you guys. Isn't it just emotions? Isn't it just emotions? Okay, so my brother took his own life. What's the emotion? Anger. I'm sad. I'm mad. Okay, somebody can cut you off in traffic. What are you? You're angry. You're mad. Right?
But
a dog could die.
Difference.
A pet could die. I'm sad. No, it's not a big difference. And that's the challenge, is you make it a big difference because you want to be that victim. And I know it takes time. Trust me. I've been through it. But you want to, there's almost a healing time where you need to be that victim, which is okay. But you also need to be able to have that ability to say, okay, enough's enough. What's next? And sometimes I don't think people know that what's next.
Well,
and
sometimes I think it takes time because you do have to mourn.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that. Absolutely.
But you say Barb should have kicked me out. You guys, the only time in our entire almost 30 years together, Dave was an incredibly depressed person for a long time, and he really struggled. And I think
it took a lot of time.
You go through anger, you go through the sadness, the victim, the blame, the guilt, the anger.
Well, the flip side of human beings having the ability to set your own goals The flip side to you being able to dial in your guided missile to whatever you want, the flip side is you also have that side that you get to think. That you think about all the bad things. You think about why. You are the victim. You know, coyotes running around out here on my farm, they're never the victim. They don't have that built inside of them. They can't feel that way. Like, animals are different than people. If you have the ability, think about this. If you have the ability to be so down and so sad and so upset and mourning or whatever
and
it is.
Angry with people that do shitty things to you.
But
too.
on the flip side, you have that the positive side of that is just as high. So no matter how low you are down here, laying on my mom's couch, broken leg, 4 surgeries,
Sad,
dropped out of
scared.
college, threw my baseball scholarship away, but rodeo's done and over. I'm finished. I don't know what I'm going to do now with my life. To now I'm at the top of the world, literally within minutes, because my brother walked in and said a statement to me and said, Barb Zorn, I met her on Main Street. She freaking wants to marry you, man. And I'm like, life's good. I went from life sucks to life's good.
And then
guess what happened?
Don't even know.
And she told me, I took a little work, but hey, everything worth having, God's worth working for.
No, but my sister was standing there when I told him no. And she said, are you a freaking idiot? I said, my boyfriend's at the lake. She goes, yeah, probably with a bunch of chicks on his boat. Like, are you freaking stupid? It's David freaking Pitcock. And I literally wasn't even open to it. I wasn't even, it's like, God, you're begging for God to show you something. And he's like banging you on the head and you're just stuck in your little rut. You're in your rut. And the only difference in a rut and a grave, honestly, you guys, is one has a lid on it. And this entire world right now is in a rut. I see it every single day. And Dave and I are going to just start putting positive out till people want to puke, because positive till you puke, that should be the name of our podcast.
Or we're just full of it. Like,
we work so hard every single day to find the good. And you guys, 2020, people thought it was a bad year. End of 2020 was when mine really got bad. And 2021 just sucked. Like, just absolutely sucked. Our businesses are booming. Things are amazing in certain areas, but it's real life bullshit that happens. And if you think raising kids is hard, wait until they're adults, because you feel every single emotion. And some days I look at Dave and say, how in the hell did our moms do this? Like, how did they do this? Because we're all human and we all have emotions. And those kids are on their own journey, just like we were. My life coach, Mike Sandra, always says, how do you think your moms felt when your bankruptcy was in the paper, when your cars were repossessed, when you were about to walk down the aisle and you tore up all the invitations, when you moved to Cody, Wyoming and you were at the food pantry? Like, we didn't even have milk and bread, you guys.
But isn't it true that most every single person can tell the same story that Barb always shares? That is true. Here's the problem today. Your guided missile is not dialed into a word that you chose. You let TikTok choose it. You let Facebook choose it. You let the next doctor choose it. You let the next news channel choose it. You let the next politician choose it. You let the next person over here choose it.
Your neighbor, your best friend at the bar.
You are refusing to dial your guided missile into what you want. And today, that's one of the hardest things to do. I'm in a room full of setting goals. I wrote a book about how to think good all the time and set goals. And it's difficult. It's not an easy time to do that, because to set goals and feel good, that sentence, Barb Zorn wants to marry you, bro. You need to go talk to her. Okay, that sentence needs planted, and you need to water it and feed it. And the missile, it's on there now, and it's chasing you around. But what then when you open up TikTok and oh yeah, everybody's gonna die. So the world's gonna blow up and everybody's dying and it's all over.
I would open up TikTok and think no man would be faithful. There's naked women all over. Like, it's your It's your
Depends on what you want your guided missile diet.
it's your belief systems, right? Like we're just in a really messed up time in the
People
world.
got to work hard on yourself, man. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Jim Rohn said that. Man, what a great statement. Work harder on your. How many people work harder on themselves? Like how many people every day really wake up and meditate a little and just say that one quick little prayer. They're like, all right, I'm grateful today. Let's have a little bit of wisdom. Let's get some stuff going. Here's what I want. Let's go. Tiny little one sentence that you say to yourself can give you the energy you need for the entire day. And that's when people look at you and go, how in the world are you so positive? It's because I work on it, man.
Yeah.
Because I want my guided missile dialed into something I want, not what freaking TikTok wants. I want my guided missile, Dave Pitcock's guided missile, dialed into what makes me feel good. And for me, we all go through stuff, man. Everybody on here could tell the same story that Barb and I tell. But if you want to get through that, even if you're in a relationship and maybe you have a little ups and downs, get together and go, let's go. Let's what would excite us? That should be what you write down. Man, what would excite us this week? What would excite us today?
We talked about driving to Cody, Wyoming, but we don't have enough days to go.
We did.
But
we probably should have. This would have been fun for me.
Yeah, we should take off, drive to Cody, Wyoming, go find that little tiny cabin on the mountain that didn't even have enough heat to keep the pipes from freezing.
Oh my gosh.
Just take a picture of where it all began.
Loved it.
Could we get there and back by Monday? If we pulled an all-nighter like we used to.
I'm not doing it.
But it's not our wedding anniversary, but it is the day that turned my life around. And I think about all the young girls out there that might benefit from this message. And if you know one, tag them in this. I'm going to be giving away some free books. You can get the book at pitcockmarketing.com. Dave's book or my book, and it even comes on audios if you're a person that doesn't
see you guys.
can
I'm
listen.
gonna go have a coughing fit real fit, so no big deal with me. But if I had one little piece of advice for you guys, get a mental picture of your guided missile and what's chasing you around right now, and just change the name in it. And if you can change that name and hang something on your wall or hang something on a mirror or put it on the front of your phone or get another tattoo of it, whatever you want to do.
You don't have to get a tattoo.
You can. Just see it every day. If you could look at something and focus on your guided missile, the word on it, for 21 days, there's books surrounding me saying you now made some new things in your brain, and now your brain has to follow that guided missile. But it doesn't happen in an hour. It takes about 3 weeks. You got to focus for 3 weeks on one you want,
21
more
days.
than you ever have in your life, and you let the rest of the crap go away. And when it does come, you got to remind yourself, nope, I got to feel good right now. Where's my guided missile? That's why you need it around you all the time to remind yourself. One of the greatest things, gifts anybody gave me was to taught me how to do that. But thanks for letting me jump on here.
Well, and it's funny because in my book, I even have the graph that Dave drew in the dust of my convertible that night. He said, this is you. And he drew a little box. And then he drew a big box and he said, this is you. And this little box, this is all your problems. And you can never make your problems bigger than the you box. And at the time, it didn't even make any sense to me. He was just talking. But, he has taught me so much about personal development and personal growth and self-esteem and self-confidence and our kids. A lot of people don't know everything that we've been through with our kids, but this August 24th, it's a crazy time. August 15th was our first date. August 24th will be my granddaughter's 3rd birthday, and it will be the 2-year anniversary of my daughter Brooklyn coming to us and saying, I need to get some help. And you know what, you guys, our children, no different than us, they're all on their own journey. The very things that we think are the worst things that happen in their life could be God's purpose and plan for them, conditioning them. I was reading a great book this week by John Maxwell, and it said every success stands on top of the mountains of failures. And if people aren't failing, they're not doing anything. If you don't have haters, you're not doing anything. If you haven't had some adversity, you're not doing anything like you could be doing, because it's adversity and challenge and those times that you go through where God really, you get on your knees and you pray for him to take over. That's the story that you can witness and share with others, how God literally changed your life. And my book is so full of them. I almost died with my firstborn. Dave's mom battled cancer, not once, but twice. It's not both in the book. This book ends in 2001. We really need a new book. Our company that we built, and we were the top people in the company, it went bankrupt the year after. I told the story in the book. Like, literally, it's crazy how many goods and bads and goods and bads and goods and bads. It's like a mountain range. But the goal is that you keep going higher from the momentum of each down. So if you're in a down and you're stuck, or you know someone that's struggling, do you know anyone that has anything in common with anything that I've shared today? Please share this broadcast on your wall. Tag those people. I just think it's a time in life where we need to be encouraging people and being really transparent that we've all failed. We've all done stupid shit. We've all had bad relationships. We've all had either bankruptcies or getting fired or getting arrested or struggling with an addiction, or maybe you did something you're incredibly ashamed of. And if you haven't, well, good for you. But there's a lot of people out there who have, and just like Dave's brother, they're this close to giving up, you guys. This close. And you sharing your weaknesses that caused you to find strengths, your transparencies, your mistakes, your failures, your true story is really the only reason we're on this planet. We are only here to witness and serve others and share this good news. And then we're gone. And that's it, right? So I'm going to do my job. I would encourage you guys to do yours. Every single one of you has a story. That's why we're going to start our podcast, to interview other people and bring their story. I can't tell you everything about relationships. I can't tell you everything about business. I can't tell you everything about raising kids, but I can tell you what I've learned and the life lessons, and a lot of it is in the books we've written. So I'm excited to share with you guys next week. I went a little bit over, so I'm going to go ahead and close this broadcast. We've got to jump on our company training, but I care about each and every one of you. You are important to me. You are my Facebook friend. Many of you are my family. Many of you are people I haven't even met yet. And I truly believe that there's a frequency on this planet that when we help people raise their frequency, if they can raise their frequency, it can change their life. Just like it did for Dave, just like it did for me, and just like it could do for so many of you. But you've got to stop. You've got to pray. And for God's sakes, you've got to listen. Because God is trying to destine you for greatness, not struggle. He's trying to destine you for love, not hurt and pain and agony and heartache. He's trying to bless your finances. Like, he's trying to bless your health, your relationships, everything that you dream of. But it depends on which side we feed. And the more we cuss it and blame it and shame it and play the victim card, and we don't just say, I surrender it, I give it all to you, please, God, I need you, then the longer we stay and struggle. I am so thankful that God answered my prayers and brought David Pitcock to my phone for a haircut. And I am so thankful that he was persistent and that I finally said yes, because it literally turned my life around. And I know that one moment can turn your life around too. And I truly believe that one moment is coming very soon. So I hope this gives you guys a little bit of hope. Have an amazing weekend. One day we are going to get out of here, take that trip, go back to Wyoming, and post the whole reliving the moment. But we've got a busy week ahead. So you guys have a great day. I hope this inspired you. No Guts, No Story, every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Please share this. Tag someone. Encourage someone. Send it in a messenger. You never know the little bitty message of hope that could turn somebody's life around. And that is our prayer for each and every one of you. Have an amazing day.